Hi guys, it's Louise from Craft Geek Dioramas. Recently I've had quite a lot of people asking me how I do my wood flooring effect on the foam. And obviously here in the UK we tend to use this blue model Styrofoam, which is used a lot in model railway modelling. So what I thought I would do is a quick tutorial for you so you guys can see how I do it, and then obviously you can adapt it to whatever way you like. But yeah, so basically to do the wood flooring you don't need any major tools or anything. Again, just a metal ruler. I tend to use a knife like this on wood flooring, which is very similar to my brickwork that I use. I just find that the nice sort of edge tip on there gives me a little bit more definition, so I like using this one. Just sort of like an ink pen to do your markings on the foam board, and also a biro that you're not too bothered about using anymore, because you're going to be using the end part there to score into the foam. So this pen here has run out, so I use this one. Okay, so as you can see on the foam board, what I've done already is I've marked out some dots on here, which is going to be my lines for the floorboards going across ways, and that's what I would generally do on a piece first, is mark out the distance between the floorboards. Now if I'm working in 1/12 scale, which is for your 6-7 inch figures, I tend to do the floorboards about 1.5 centimetres apart. That's usually about what the scale would be. So these marks here are 1.5 centimetres apart. So what I would do is mark those out like I have on here, and then what I would do is I would then score down those with my knife, like I do with the with my brickwork. So again, score into the foam about sort of, I don't know, 3mm into the foam. You haven't got to go too deep, but enough that you can score into it. So I'm just going down through. I know the sound of that going through the foam goes right through some people. It doesn't actually bother me. If it did, I wouldn't be able to make dioramas. Okay. Right, so I have now scored into the foam with the blade, just about see it there. But what we have to do now is obviously make that more obvious, more defined. So what I would do then is I'll take my biro that I don't want to use anymore and pop the biro into the where you've scored, and it will easily run down through the lines that you've cut into the foam. That's why you need to cut into the foam a good 3 to 4mm, so your pen will just glide along the scored line. Okay, so what I've done now, as you can see, I've scored into the foam. Right, that's the first part. Now the next part I would do, obviously it would normally be a much bigger piece, but I'm just using a small piece of foam. What I would tend to do then is I would then mark my floorboard lengths going the other way, so downwards. Now, if you actually look at floorboards when they're laid, they're not symmetrical. I see a lot of people when they're doing their floorboards, they kind of measure it like a brick, so like every other one is in the same place. It wouldn't be like that when you lay a floor. So what I tend to do is be very random on how I do it. So what I would do is I would just sort of mark on my foam where I would like the lines going down to go. So at the moment I've just put little marks on here, and then what I would do is then I would just score down through each one. So I tend to use a ruler because I like to keep the line straight. So I would probably take more time in my measuring as well if I was doing this for real, but obviously I don't want the video to be too long. Okay. Right, so I've I've just made some sort of scores with the blade again. So again, we need to make it more defined. So again, just running the pen into the scored line. So it's kind of like doing brickwork in a way. Same principle for the first part anyway. Okay, so now you can see I've got my floorboards, the basic layout, and as you can see, then they're random, because floorboards, when they're laid in runs. They're not laid. It wouldn't be sort of like in the same place. It just, to me, it doesn't look right. So this more random looks more natural. And the phone's ringing. It can wait. So basically, what we do then is we are going to now put what I would call like sort of the texture into the floorboard. Now this kind of foam has got a texture to it, but I want it to look more like wood. So I do this for all my wood effect. So what I tend to do is, with my biro now, I will first off, I'll try and get you so you guys can see this. First off, I would just do, I'm going to use one floorboard at a time. I would just do some squiggly lines. I wouldn't use the pen straight in, it's on the side of the pen. Just doing some squiggly lines, if you can just about see it there. Now that doesn't look like a wood, does it? It just looks like I've made some random squiggly lines into the foam. But then what I do is I then run my pen in quick succession in straight lines over the top of the squiggly lines, and you can kind of like go quite rough with it into the foam, and then you can see it looks more, I can't do if I can get a good view of that, but it looks more sort of more wood effect than just the squiggly lines. Another thing that you can do as well, which is another effect that I've done on wood, is you can get your ruler, so get your foam this way and run your ruler, so just run the pen, so just a little going down through very slowly, keeping the lines very close together. You can run your pen fairly deeply into the foam. There we go. And then you can see that effect on that one there. So yeah, you can see the two effects there. So this one is just literally straight lines, which I've done on a couple of dioramas. Or you've got the squiggly line and then running your pen along on top in a straight line. So wiggly lines first and then running along your pen along in a straight line. Doesn't look that great when it's just on the blue foam. It really comes out when you paint it. So if I do another one underneath just to make it look, see if I can do this one so you can see it on here. So I would do squiggly lines first. You can see there, turn it around this way. I've done the squiggly lines on that one. Looks a bit random, as you can see. And then what I would do is just run my pen in straight lines over the top of the wiggly lines. There we go. Okay, so that's the two effects that you can do. Another thing then I would do sometimes is I will poke some holes, so make some puncture holes into the boards there, if you want to give the appearance of sort of like the boards being fitted with nails. The other thing you can do is you can use small little pins. Obviously you would go through quite a bit, but it does look quite effective. I've done that before as well. So your little pins into all the edges of the boards. And then if you want sort of like a weathered effect, what I tend to do sometimes is cut out the part of the foam, so then it looks like the floorboards are worn, and then you can kind of like indent, push down on the floorboards. So there's lots of things you can do. So that's really just a very, very basic rundown of how I do floorboards and wood effect really in general. Like I say, on the blue foam it doesn't look very effective. It's when you paint it, and what I would do if I was painting these once it was finished, I would base coat it in black, and then I would obviously use my browns to give the wood effect, sort of the dry brushing. So I would dry brush it a darker brown and then go in my tones depending on what colour tone of wood I would want, and that's when this really then does pop. It does then look more like a wood effect. Okay, well, I hope that helped. Hope helped you guys, and hopefully I'll be back soon with another diorama update for you. See you all soon.